Hello, Tiger fans. Welcome into another edition of Inside CU Sports this week. I'm your host, Jordan Alvis. This week we've got a few special guests. Head coach of the wrestling program, Frankie James, has stopped by to see us, and also head coach of Tiger basketball, Brent Vernon. Both of them stopping by to put a bow on their season, so to speak. Both of them ended their season this past week at the conference tournament for the basketball program and also the national championship for the men's wrestling program. First on tap for us tonight is the head coach of the men's wrestling program, Frankie James. And Coach, you go to the national championship with 6 wrestlers. You finish third. You're tying your highest program finish in program history. That's got to be that's something sweet to know. You went out there with so less wrestlers, still finished top 5.
Yeah, to only qualify 6 and to finish third was pretty unbelievable. Yeah.
And we talked about the conference teams. We talked about with Coach Merton a few weeks ago going into the NAIA region or the qualifier and also the championship down in Bowling Green. You didn't get any wild cards out of that. Lindsey Wilson got 4, and they were second. That's what helped them move into the top second the seat.
Yeah, that could have been the difference in the national tournament was those wild card votes, So yeah, I've got to make more friends.
Make more friends in the conference, don't we all? All the coaches say that. But you go out there with 6 wrestlers. You make the most of what you had. You go out there with 6 wrestlers. You have 5 All-Americans. 4 make it to the semifinals. 2 make it in the championship matches. That says something about those 6 guys and the determination that they had.
Yeah, they had a plan, from the beginning of the year, and we stuck to it. Even though we only qualified 6, we knew that if we went out there and put 6 guys on the podium, that very few teams could do that. So we came up a little short there, but we got 5 of the 6 on the podium and 2 guys in the finals. So it was a great tournament for us.
You talk about those 5 All-Americans: Terrell Moore, Justin Brown, Adrian Campazano, Chuck Sharon, Jaden Sklapski. They wrestled very well. You had Adrian and Chuck in the championship matches. T Money, he finished as an All-American. Jay Brown finished as an All-American. Jaden. Talk about those 3 guys: T Money, Jay Brown, and Jaden. Talk about how they progressed throughout the year and became All-Americans at the end.
Yeah, all those guys work really hard. Their work ethic is really strong, so it gives me all the confidence in them, seeing them work the way they do. But, we had a great start to the tournament. At one point, we were like 12-0 in matches. We were 12-0, and in the start of the tournament, we didn't lose a match the whole morning. The whole morning round, we left undefeated. Then we came back, and it was like 16-2 or 3. We just kept winning and winning. So we just had a great start to the tournament. And, putting 4 of those guys in the semis was huge. There's a lot of points. Jay Brown had a big upset there. He knocked off 2 seeded guys. Terrell Moore upset the guy who finished 3rd last year, the heavyweight from Oklahoma City, who had beat us early in the year, so that was a huge win. Adrian Campazano beat the guy who was the runner-up last year in the first round. Jace Carr knocked off the guy that was 3rd in the country last year. So just early on, we just had some really big matchups, and we were ready to go. We won those big matches early on.
You talk about winning those early matches going early on. You were 12-0 to start, 16-2, whatever it may have been, and that's the momentum you needed to be able to push forward and have 5 guys as All-Americans and be able to finish 3rd, tying the highest finish in program history.
Yeah, that's right. Getting off to a great start was key for us to have a good tournament there. So we didn't talk about it too much, but we knew we needed to do that. So we did it. Great start, and ended up being a great tournament.
Well, now let's talk about the conference teams. We talked about 5 teams from Mid-South in the top 11. It was 5 in the top 10 going into the finals. One of the teams dropped out, but that talks a lot about the conference and the region, and it talks about how tough that region was just a couple weeks ago down in Bowling Green.
Yeah, for sure. Our conference is loaded. In our region, there's a lot of coaches fighting for our region to get more qualifiers into the tournament. So that may be something that develops over the summer here where we can get more qualifiers from our region. That obviously would have helped us this year. But I don't know if that's going to happen. We'd like to keep all the regions split up evenly and get the same amount of qualifiers to each one. So it's hard to say, well, the East region is the best region. You got to give them more because it may be different from year to year. But this year, we were definitely the best region in the country, obviously with 5 in the top 10 or whatever it was. So yeah, it was tough. And our showing at the region tournament wasn't the best either because we had 5 of the top 10 teams in the country. So that kind of hurt us too, and that's why we only qualified 6.
And that's something too with a lot of other sports too. You have basketball that gets 4 or 5 teams in the national tournament for men and the women. baseball, softball in the World Series every year for the Mid-South. The Mid-South Conference, from baseball to bowling, Campbellsville's bowling team won that conference. I mean, the Mid-South from top to bottom is really, really tough, and that says a lot about what Eric Ward's done as the commissioner and all the coaches as well.
Yeah, Eric Ward did a great job with our conference tournament down in Bowling Green. He had to put in a lot of work to make that thing go, and you know, I think he's kind of new to dealing with wrestling tournaments, and Coach Hardy helped him too, and those guys were like, wow, there's a lot of moving pieces in this thing. So they figured out a little bit about wrestling that weekend. That was good to see.
And it's good to have that administration there supporting the teams as well.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Well, Coach, when we come back, we'll talk about Adrian and Chuck a little bit more. Stay with us for a few more minutes. When we come back, though, we'll talk about Adrian Campuzano, Chuck Sharon. They wrestled in the NAI National Championship on ESPN3. We'll talk about those matches when we come back. So stay with us here on Inside CU Sports.
The gift of reading is worldwide. Whether you're sitting at home or enjoying nature with your favorite book, Dog-Eared Books is here for you. Located on East Main Street in Campbellsville. Dog-Eared Books has a wide variety for all your reading needs. Find your favorite author or search your favorite genre. Stay up to date with all our extra events on social media at Dog-Eared Books KY and also dogearedbooksky.com. Dog-Eared Books, because books are a man's best friend.
As the city of Campbellsville prepares to celebrate its bicentennial, Taylor County Bank celebrates 80 years of being locally owned and operated. Taylor County Bank offers many convenient features such as mobile banking and online bill pay. Should anything happen to your debit card, Taylor County Bank provides instant disabling of the card. They also offer a number of design options to show your local pride. Taylor County Bank, with multiple Campbellsville locations and online at taylorcountybank.com.
Welcome back into Inside CU Sports, alongside Coach Frankie James as well for our second segment tonight, talking about the NAI Championship. Adrian Campuzano and Chuck Sharon both finished in their respective weight classes NAI runner-ups. And Coach, those two guys, two juniors, you're bringing them back next year. That talks about a lot about your program too. Out of the 6 guys that went out, 5 of them could come back. Jay Brown doesn't know what he graduated early, still has a year of eligibility left. But you have 5 of the 6 guys that finished at the national championship this year coming back next year. That says a lot about your program and the recruiting you've done and moving forward as well.
Yeah, those are going to be big building blocks for next year's team. All 5 of those guys, well, potentially 5 of the 6 come back. Like you said, Jay Brown's up in the air. He has job offers. He could go on, but you know, we had a lot of fun this weekend, so I think we might be able to convince him to stay back with us. So if we can, that'll be big and huge.
And we talked about the 6 wrestlers. You go out there with 6. You finish with 5 All-Americans. 4 moved to the semifinals, 2 in the finals. Adrian Campuzano transferring this year from California at 125. He was somebody that you relied on throughout the year, only lost, I believe, twice throughout the year, one in the regular season and then in the finals. Talk about how Adrian progressed throughout the year. And I know the lighter weights have been kind of your, I would say, your bread and butter over the years. But Adrian's really, he's really became one of the best in the country.
Yeah, he had a great year, and we didn't know what to think about him coming in. He's, like you said, transfer from California Junior College. We haven't had a lot of success with the California JUCO guys, but had heard a lot of good things about him. We call him Kiwi. Kiwi's his name. So, so when he got here, just watching him the way he worked and seeing his skills and his ability, we had high hopes right away. And sure enough, he had a great start. He ended up working his way up to the top in the country, #1 ranked guy. And so he entered the national tournament being the #1 ranked guy, which is not always a great thing. There's a lot more pressure there with that. But he came through, you know, and he could not have had a tougher road. The matches he had, his first match, he had the returning national finalist Hugo Perez, who got second last year. His next match, he had his only loss this year, Mason Naphy from Oklahoma City, the only guy that beat him. And then the next match, he had a 2-time All-American, Devane Dodgens, who he'd already beat earlier this year, and we knew that was going to be another tough match to get in the finals. So he had a really tough road, and he did it. He got to the finals, and then he had kind of like an old nemesis, I think. That Troy Lakin is another California kid.
Yep.
They were in the same state bracket and growing up as high school kids and younger, so they knew each other really well. And it's kind of like Davion in the finals last year. We had our worst match at the wrong time.
Yep.
Kiwi had a bad match, and I think you know, the way that match started, he was attacking and he was really anxious and really eager, and he was just pressing a little too hard in the finals. And the strange thing was he got hit for stalling twice in the first period, which to Kiwi, he's never been hit for stalling. He hustles more than anybody. So he's like, why am I getting hit for stalling? So it kind of made him go harder. And it really messed up the flow of the match. And he just, he never got settled in, you know, and was able to compete the way we know he can. So it was a disappointing loss. I thought he was the best wrestler in the country for sure. I thought he was going to be a national champ. And we didn't get that one. Yeah, we didn't get that one.
Well, then you lose at 125, which that was actually the first match of the finals on ESPN3 and WatchESPN.com. Then you move into Chuck Sharon. You have to wait about 5 or 6, 7 matches later. Chuck, obviously the adrenaline's going for him. He's watching all these matches. Chuck goes in and he loses a nail biter 6-5. He actually led early and then lost one down the stretch. And that was a little bit down too. Obviously, Chuck's been ranked number 1 most of the season. He was the 3 seed coming in. He also had a tough road to go to the finals as well.
A very tough road for Chuck to get to the finals. He had to go through Diebert of Williams Baptist, and then he had a guy who was an All-American and ranked number 2 earlier in the year from Wayland Baptist in Texas. He ended up pinning that guy, Napier. Then he had to go through Walker, who's been 3rd the last 3 years. He was 3rd for 2 years junior college and 3rd in NAI last year. And Walker just beat us in the controversial match in the duel. We thought, you know, or in the Mid-South Conference Finals. Yeah, we beat him in the duel. So we weren't happy about the loss in the finals, but we thought we were the better wrestler. We were happy that we were going to see Walker in the semis. And so Chuck wrestled well and took Walker down and cradled him up and got a good lead and able to get that win and get to the finals. When he got to the finals, you know, you're wrestling a guy that's had a great year, Ben Stroh from Montana Northern. He's 42-2 or something. No NAI losses all year. Their coach was really pushing all year for him to be ranked number 1. And so I would really want Chuck to wrestle him, and I couldn't wait to see that matchup. But this team was just really close all year. They're probably one of the closest teams I've had. I think since Kiwi lost in the finals, Chuck said he could have won, but he didn't want to show him Kiwi. No, these guys are really close though, and I wish Chuck could have got that national title. But it was amazing the attitude on the team of the guys and stuff. You know, we got 3rd, and we had 2 guys lose the finals, but they weren't down. They were all happy and excited, so it was great to see. Yeah.
And you talk about Chuck, those that were able to follow along on ESPN. Chuck lost 6-5. He actually had a move late. Could have had a 2-point takedown to win the national championship, but it ended up going out of bounds late with 1 second on the clock. But Coach, we talked about those 5 All-Americans. You have now 52 All-Americans in your 13 years here as the head coach at Campbellsville. Talk about where the program started to where it is now.
Yeah, it was a tough start. You know, there wasn't a lot of wrestling out here in Central Kentucky when we got here, and we started from scratch. You know, basically, and it's been 13 years, been 13 good years. Had a lot of success. Like you said, 52 All-Americans in 13 years. A little slow getting started. We were 21st in the country the first year, then we were 14th, then we were 7th. Our 4th year, we were the preseason number 1 team, so we climbed up pretty quick. Averaging 4 or 5 All-Americans a year now. So yeah, it's been a fun ride. We've had a lot of fun building. We've got a lot of support here with Dr. Carter and Rusty and Coach Hardy does a great job helping us. So a lot of support. We've got that new facility now. Just got to keep recruiting and keep going.
And that's the next step for you is recruiting. So, Coach, have fun recruiting in this offseason. Congrats on the 3rd place finish. And I know you didn't get a national champion, but it's still a pretty heck of a feat going out there with 6 wrestlers finishing 3rd. So, congrats on that.
Thank you.
Good luck with recruiting this year.
Thank you.
Once again, the Tigers, they finished 3rd in the NAIA championship this past week in Topeka, Kansas. The next year's championship goes back to Des Moines, Iowa, where Campbellsville finished 3rd in 2012. We want to say thanks to Frankie James for stopping by tonight, and good luck to him and his staff in recruiting this offseason. We come back, head coach of the Tigers, Brent Vernon, is going to come in and talk to us about their season as well, and also put a bow on the 2016-17 year for the Tiger basketball team. So stay with us here on Inside CU Sports.
Citizens Bank and Trust knows just how hectic your day can be. Stay on track during your busiest days with Citizens Bank and Trust. Buying the latest gear to support your favorite team, or grabbing a coffee after studying all night. Citizens Bank allows you to deposit your checks with the snap of a picture at any time, especially after hours. Citizens Bank and Trust, keeping you on schedule. Now introducing Apple, Android, and Google Pay.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
A champion doesn't get days off.
It takes determination and drive to realize goals. From long nights to early mornings. From the courts to the classrooms to online. At Campbellsville University, this is why we play. This is how we learn. This is where champions are made. Find your calling for a life change at campbellsville.edu.
Welcome back into Inside CU Sports. Now joined with us in the studios tonight is head coach of the Tigers, Brent Vernon, and coach, 15-15 record, not how you wanted your first year to go. Lost to Georgetown in the first round, 75-70. Let's talk about just the year first before we get into that Georgetown game. Talk about the year from start to finish now. Put a bow on that season.
Very interesting year. I'm going to say a lot of ups and downs. I told our guys after the game the other day that really no team should have to go through the adversity they went through. We had a lot of team adversity. We had some individuals go through some personal adversities. And I told them, that's the one thing I was very proud of, because they fought through adversity. And we never gave in and never gave up, and we continued to battle and look for the goal at the end. And we did come up short of what we all wanted. But again, it was a good learning experience for myself as a first-year coach, and as well as our team. And the guys who were returning next year, it'll be a big step for us moving forward.
You talk about the obstacles you had to overcome. You lose to Georgetown 75-70 in the conference, the quarterfinals, and it was your 10th loss of the year by less than 6 points. Obviously, that's got to sting a little bit in your first year. You take 5, you win half of those. You're 20-10. You could be looking at a at-large bid of the national championship.
Yeah, it definitely could. And again, it's sort of I've said it since the game. It's been the epitome of our season. We've been so close, and whether it been just a little bit of depth, execution, leadership, could never really put our finger on it, but we always just came up short. And again, it goes to things that we need to continue to improve on moving forward and everything like that. But, it just shows you how close we were in one of, if not the toughest conference in America, to being right there in the thick of things.
You talk about the conference. Life University won the conference championship, the regular season, and also the tournament. Had to come from behind to beat Lindsey Wilson in the semifinal, a 40-footer desperation shot to go in the finals against Pikeville. And basically just, I wouldn't say dominated Pikeville, but was ahead for most of the game and played very well. The conference from top to bottom, obviously, or top to probably the first 6 teams was very, very strong once again.
It was, and again, like we talked about last week, I thought every game in the conference tournament had a chance to be great, and every game was, honestly, except the championship game. And I think Pikeville felt a little fatigue, where Life was conditioned to play through that because their lack of depth throughout the year. But you go back to the Shawnee State and Life game that started the tournament off, a one-possession game where Shawnee misses a shot at the buzzer, and that was the 1-8 game. And then obviously our game with Georgetown, the 2-7, we lead for about 35 minutes of that game, 34 minutes. But every game, the 4-5, the 3-6, they were all close. And again, it just shows you how competitive top to bottom our league is.
Let's talk about that Georgetown game. You talk about you led for 30, 35 minutes of that ball game. You led at 8 at halftime. You come out, you're hitting 3. Sean Johnson hit 2. Elliott Young hit 2. Hagan hit 1. Able to get to the rim at ease. You go up by 8 at halftime. What was it in the first half that was the difference?
Well, our defensive transition and our defensive rebounding was good. They did have a few more offensive rebounds in the first half than I would have liked, and they converted on those. But offensively, we were in a good groove. We never got rattled. We always could. Every time Georgetown tried to get a run going, we answered. We never showed any type of panic out there, and that was really good. At halftime, I told our guys, let's just be honest. First game we played Georgetown, we were ahead, they made a run. Second game we played them, they were ahead, we made a run. We knew a run was coming. We didn't know when. Obviously, we didn't expect it to be as big of a run as it was, but it goes back to I talk about everything we fought through this year. We could have easily, whenever they went on this run and took an 8-point lead, just sort of packed it in, and we battled and chipped away and finally took the lead again, just couldn't hold on at the end.
And I think you went on 8, you led at 8, by 8 at halftime. And then Georgetown goes on a 16-0 run to lead by 8. Ended up being a 23-4 run in the second half. And they kind of stole all the momentum until probably the final, 5 minutes of the game. And they whittled that lead down and was able to keep it in their favor for the rest of the second half.
They did, and a lot of it was transition and the offensive rebounding, which we knew we had to slow that down, and we changed things with about 8 minutes to go. We went to a zone, and it did slow them down a little bit, and then they started figuring it out, so we changed back to man, and it just took them a little while to adjust both ways. And then we stepped up and got a few stops and made some shots, and we had some very timely plays. And then when, you know, some unfortunate things happened the last 45 seconds that, you know, in a course of a game like that, it can go either way, and it just didn't go ours.
You talk about the last 45 seconds. It was very interesting. You were behind the 8 ball, then you were ahead, and you were behind again. Elliott Young, with about 40 seconds to go, made his first free throw to bring the game into a 2-point deficit. He missed the second. Eric Kinney doing what Eric Kinney does, jumping above everybody, getting the rebound, hitting Rod on the outlet, hitting Elliott for a 3, and my buddy Matt Payton just went crazy on the call. Tigers ahead, 71-70. That was a big moment, just living in the moment in that atmosphere.
It was, and our bench, obviously, everybody was into it, coaches, players, and Georgetown did a good job, and we actually did a good job of getting down and stopping transition. Darion Burnson made some tough shots. We made him take another one. He missed, and then Georgetown doing what they do, they got an offensive putback, and, you know, we attack and come back down 1. A block charge call could have gone either way. Watching the film, again, always as the coach, you're going to think it's a block. They called a charge. Obviously, we would have loved for the block to be called just to see what would have happened. We still had a chance, though. You know, they make 2 free throws. We come down. Don't have to have a 3. Passed up a pretty good 6-7 footer for an open 3 from a good shooter, not a guy who shoots a lot of threes, and it just didn't fall down, and excuse me, and we came up just a little short.
You talk about that. I know we talked about off air just in passing. You don't want to second guess yourself, but after Elliott made that 3, you talked about maybe I should have called a timeout to be able to set the defense up. What do you think about as a coach in that situation?
At that time, and you know, you're never really expecting the end of that play to have the lead because he's only got one more shot at the free throw line. But as you just said, Eric Kinney doing what Eric Kinney does. We only had one timeout left. Going back, probably should have called a timeout. We could have set our defense, and it would have been transition. Do they score on us if we do that? Maybe, but I would like to think maybe not off of offense or rebound. It's one of those, whenever you lose, though, you always go back and second guess, should I have done this? If we would have came out on top, we would have been like, we did everything perfect and right. It was just one of those, again, it's a learning experience for myself, for our team as we move forward, and we'll see if I do it different the next time around. And
we talk about the next 4 or 5 minutes here in the last segment. We'll talk about the future of the program. So stay with us here. We'll talk about the upcoming recruits and also what the offseason is going to look like for the Tiger basketball program and Coach Fern. So stay with us here on Inside CU Sports.
Here at Saloma Baptist Church, our mission and ministry extend beyond our walls. We are focused on teaching all ages about the love of Jesus and preparing them for a life of mission. We are committed to serving the local community and the world in the name of Jesus Christ. For more information on service times and mission opportunities, visit our website at salomabaptist.com. We extend a warm welcome to you and your family here at Saloma Baptist Church.
Whether you're 2 or 102, the Tigerville Grill has something for you. Take advantage of the Build Your Own Burger menu. In the mood for something small? Choose one of the many delicious slider options. Call ahead and use our fast and easy drive-thru. Oh, that cool freestyle fountain drink machine? We've still got it. The Tigerville Grill, located at 314 North Columbia Avenue and open to the public 11 to 8 daily.
Welcome back in to Inside CU Sports, along with head coach of the Tigers, Brent Vernon. I'm Jordan Alvis. Coach, last 4 or 5 minutes of the year right here. We talked about the season recap. Now looking ahead to the offseason. Talk about how will you replace Elliott Young, Rod Lawrence, and Eric Kinney, Zach Perry. All 4 of those played valuable minutes for you, hit big shots for you in the conference tournament as well.
It'll be hard, and it's one of those that everybody, it's with twofold. They're replaceable, but they're not. What we'll do is, as a coaching staff, we'll go out and recruit and find the best players we can. They'll all be different. I want to say we need to go out and find some shooters. We don't have tons of shooters returning right now, so we do have to go out and find some shooters and some big wings and posts, but we've got a lot of scholarships available to sign, And you know, as a staff, we have to try to go and find the best players out there to make our program back to where it needs to be.
And it's like last summer, you come in, you needed 6, 7, 8 guys. This year it's going to be like the same. You lost 4 seniors. You had a couple players dismissed earlier in the year. You had some growing pains in that. You're going to have to bring in another 6, 7, 8 guys again. What's it like as a coach, just the mentality going into the recruiting season?
It's tough, I'm going to say, because, again, when I had the job, we were sort of starting from scratch last year. I sort of feel like we're sort of starting from scratch again. But I feel a lot more confident because we have a lot more time. We can get these guys in place earlier. They'll know a lot more from me about what to expect as we can talk and build the relationships through the summer. And then whenever we get started, again, Hagan, Jalen, Sean, those guys will already know. They'll be battle tested, know what to expect from me, and help lead as we get the next season started. And that was something that was hard for everybody because it was the unknown with a new coach and so many new guys. And it'll be the unknown of so many new guys, but not having a new coach now. We'll have a little bit of a foundation set. We'll build off of it, and we'll hit the ground running.
You talk about the leadership of those 3 guys, Jalen, Hagan, who was the other guy? Sean. And Sean hit some big shots for you down the stretch as well. But talk about the leadership from those 3. You've talked about how you wanted to bring in some more high school kids. You talk about Elliott, a high school kid, Hagan, a high school kid, Sean, a high school kid. All 3 of them have been valuable assets to your team. Talk about the strategy for recruiting. Do you want to bring in more high school kids compared to the junior college guys?
What we want to do is we want to have a good mix. We've signed 1 high school kid so far. We talked about him earlier in the year, Jacob King. We've offered 2 more. From there, we will look at the transfer route, whether it's junior college or Division I transfers, and we'll bring in 4 or 5 of those guys. But year in and year out, I believe we have to fill 2 or 3 high school kids. You talk about Hagan, Sean, Elliott. Those guys came from programs that were well coached, have great accountability, and already knew things. And I'm not saying the transfers don't come from that, but there is an unknown in the transfer world because you don't know how the other coach works. Whenever we recruit these Kentucky high school kids, you know, as a staff, we're pretty picky on these. We look for kids that we know the coach, we know what they're teaching, we know how they compete, and therefore we have an idea of what they're bringing in from the jump.
Gotcha.
That's what we had with Elliott and Hagan and Sean, coming from 3 great programs. That's what we feel like we've had with the high school kids we've offered. So if we're fortunate enough to get those guys, we'll feel like that's a good, really good group coming in. Now we go and try to get some transfers that are coming from good programs that, for whatever reason, it hasn't worked out. And we got to fill them with the right guys that understand that we are going to set very high standards, hold our guys accountable. We're going to do things right on and off the floor. And if you do those things, then the wins will start taking care of themselves.
Well, Coach, wasn't the first year you wanted 15-15 overall? Like we talked about, you had opportunities to pull out some wins, unable to do so. Hopefully year 2, more in your favor, and the ball kind of falls on your side. And we appreciate the time this year, and it's always fun to get on here and talk just a little bit about basketball, so we appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jordan.
Don't forget, the Lady Tiger basketball program, they also lost in the Mid-South Conference opening round as well, but they have a chance for a bid at the national title or the national championship tournament that is scheduled in Billings, Montana. The selection show actually starts tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find all the links on CampbellsvilleTigers.com and also NAIA.org. We want to thank Coach Frankie James and also Coach Vernon for joining us tonight here on Inside CU Sports. We'll see you next week.
The gift of reading is worldwide. Whether you're sitting at home or enjoying nature with your favorite book, Dog-Eared Books is here for you. Located on East Main Street in Campbellsville. Dog-Eared Books has a wide variety for all your reading needs. Find your favorite author or search your favorite genre. Stay up to date with all our extra events on social media at Dog-Eared Books KY and also dogearedbooksky.com. Dog-Eared Books, because books are a man's best friend.
A champion doesn't get days off. It takes determination and drive to realize goals. From long nights to early mornings. From the courts to the classrooms to online. At Campbellsville University, this is why we play. This is how we learn. This is where champions are made. Find your calling for a life change at campbellsville.edu.